Hello viewers, my name is Nwachukwu Victoria. I'm the host for the EDTC Media Interaction Show. And I promise you this program will be a very interesting and enlightening one. Our guest today is a very important personality in the Enugu State government of Nigeria. He is Professor Uche Eze, the Commissioner for Education in Enugu, Nigeria. Thank you for joining us and good afternoon to you, sir.
Yeah, good afternoon.
Right. Now let's begin from the beginning. You were appointed the Commissioner for Education in Enugu State. What was your reaction on first hearing the news of your appointment?
Well, thank you for having me in this program. In 2015, when I was appointed a commissioner, I was a classroom teacher who never knew he would one day become a commissioner. So the first reaction would be that of surprise. And for every good news, someone would be excited and happy. So I was surprised, excited, and happy at the same time for someone, somewhere, seeing me worthy to serve in his government. That means somebody reposed so much confidence in someone. And I was really appreciative. I told myself that having been found worthy to assume this office, that I'm going to put my very best to see that we add value to education, that we leave the system when we assume better than we are going to meet it. So there was a lot of enthusiasm that I brought to the assignment.
Thank you very much. That's very nice. All right, it is well known that education drives progress. What are your plans or agenda to bring about a positive turnaround in the education sector for Enugu State?
Well, having been in the education system, having been in the field of play, I have been involved in a number of research before I was appointed a commissioner of education. And luckily enough, I was trained as a teacher, and I eventually become a teacher trainer. So we had looked at the different problems bedeviling education. And in the university, we have come up with a whole number of recommendations of what those in government will do to ensure that education improve. So, as I was coming into office as a commissioner, I had a lot of information. We were aware of the challenges in the education sector. So, when we came on board, we drew up what we call our strategic plan that will drive our action in the education sector. And we were focused on three basic areas. How to ensure we create access to education. By the basic education law, education has become a right for every child. Not only that it is a right, it has to be compulsory and it has to be free. Now, having had that legal framework, how do we implement it to bring every child of school age into school? And we realize that there are numbers of factors that contribute to access to school. As we were talking about access, we were also bothered about quality. It is one thing to have a child in school. It is another thing to ensure that this child acquire quality education. It is one thing to say that this child has a first-class certificate, does that child also have first-class knowledge? Or does that child also have first-class ability to solve the problems of the society? Or do we have people who have first-class certificates without first-class knowledge, first-class experience, or first-class ability to deal with the issues of primarily, the main reason why people go to school is to learn how to solve the problem of the society they live in. In which case, somebody becomes a medical doctor. The person has the ability to solve the medical problems of the society. Or you become an educationist and you develop the skills, knowledge, and competencies required for educating the children. These are issues we consider as we talk about quality. And we begin to say, if we promote quality education, we now produce children who can solve, who can adjust to the problems of the society, solve the problems of the society, and progress this. And that is why they say education is the bedrock for any national development. With quality education, you produce quality intellectual, you develop the quality human capital that will drive every other aspect of development. And in pursuing quality education, you also have to teach for relevance. How do we ensure that in implementing our educational policies, the teaching, the processes in our schools will enhance products that suit the problems of the society? There are a number of specific actions that we have taken through the drive and the impetus our leader, the governor, Right Honorable Ifeanyi Ugwuanyi, made us to imbibe, because he is a man who places education as a priority. And if you look at the budget of Enugu State, you see that education always has the second highest allocation in our budget because of his belief in education. As such, in developing our master plan, we asked ourselves, what are we going to do to ensure that children enjoy going to school, so that those who are not in school would want to be in school? Because we know that when you are in school and you are properly developed, you are going to be of benefit to not only to yourself but to the entire society. We conducted what we call our baseline research to collect our baseline data. In fact, he set up a committee as we assumed office to visit the 17 local government areas in the state and assess the state of education. We wanted to know where we were then, so that at the end of the day, we will know the value we have added as a government. So that committee visited the 17 local government areas in Enugu State. And in doing that, we interacted with teachers, stakeholders, to know what actually. And the first thing we discovered was that most of the school infrastructure was in dilapidated states. Most schools, most of our public schools were not attractive. Many parents now prefer to send their children to private schools, even when many of those private schools did not have qualified teachers. Then, the first thing he did was to approve funds. In fact, he released about 3 billion at a time for the renovation of identified schools. There were so many that money didn't go quite far. But it became a yearly thing. Every year, fund was made available for the improvement of school infrastructure. Today, this government has renovated or built 1,500 classroom blocks. Some of them five classroom block with 2 offices, some of them 3 classroom block with 2 offices. This is something that he has achieved. In fact, there is no local government you will go. Let me not reduce it to local government. There is no community in Enugu State where the governor has not done something in terms of school infrastructure. These are things that are verifiable. It's not in the air, they are physical structures. In trying to build a classroom block, you must equip it with desks and tables for teachers and other basic things that is required for effective teaching and learning. And they keep providing different kinds of instructional materials. When that thing was done, the next thing for you to attract students to come to school is for you to have teachers. We discovered we didn't have enough teachers at the primary school level. And within 2 years, he was able to recruit about 5,030 primary school teachers. And these teachers were distributed to school, especially in the local areas. What we discover is that many people wouldn't want to teach in the rural communities. Everybody will want to come to the township. But we insisted that the application should be at the local government level. The local government from which you apply, that is the local government that if you are employed, you must remain in that local government. And that was the strategy we adopted to retain teachers in those rural communities. Because the public school is free and no such charges that the private schools indulge in. So, as we recruited teachers, one thing the governor did to ensure that teachers remain motivated and continue to do their work, he made sure that 25th of every month, salaries are paid. No, in fact, that was a policy in the state. That continued for the whole of first tenure, and it was only about a few months ago that the salary come towards the end of the month, 30th of every month. And teachers were happy because they can plan with their salaries, and their salaries were paid, their allowances were paid. They get their promotion as at when due. And this kind of thing, it kind of motivated our teachers. They showed more interest. When we came newly, we had issues of truancies on the part of teachers, and but we believe that if you keep doing things for people without supervision, they may take those things for granted. At the ministry, we developed an evaluation framework based on our monitoring and this thing, and we are moving from school to school, and before you know it, they knew that they must come to school. For you to earn your salary, you have to do your job. So, all these things help to increase school enrollment, which deals with the area of access. For us to deal with quality, we know that quality is a must if we must ensure that our children become useful in the society. When we started going around school, we began to see that some children, their performance level didn't correspond with the class they found. There was a particular school I went, and I entered a primary school this thing, and the child couldn't read. I said, no, it's not possible. How can somebody be in primary school since you cannot read? That means that there is something somewhere. And what I normally do is when I come to school, I say, let me see your register, your diary, and this. Let me see where you record the performance of your. And you see, the records will always show that the children are performing very well. But when you go to the class and ask basic questions, you see that some of the children were not doing well. I say, no, your assessment cannot be right. If your assessment result cannot correlate with the actual performance of the child, then something is wrong somewhere. And we discovered the issue of that some people, some teachers, well, continuous assessment, they will give continuous assessment, and some of them will not even mark it and record anything there. they like. And we said, no, it can't continue that way. And when we analyzed our observation analysis, we decided to introduce what we call uniform promotion exam. All schools, whether you are private, whether you are mission, whether you are public, you implement the same curriculum. You write the same external examination, whether it is basic examination, or whether it is JAM, or whether it is WAEC or NECO. That you are a mission school doesn't mean that you have you go for different exams. And it is the same national curriculum. We say, okay, as a school, you are the one who do the teaching. Organize your first term and second term exam. At the state level, we will organize the promotion exam. And the exam will be based on the curriculum. So what we did initially was to develop what we call a uniform scheme of work. Looked at the curriculum, broke it down into topics, and distributed to all the schools. Teach from this scheme of work. It covers every area of the curriculum. One, we wanted to ensure that if the promotion exam is to be central, every school will want to cover the scheme of work, which many teachers were not doing. What we observe is that a teacher may teach 2 or 3 topics in a term, set question around that 3 topics, and say that a child has scored 90. When the child has not even covered 1/3 of what he should cover in a term. So centralizing it means every school will aspire to ensure that they cover the scheme of work. When they cover that scheme of work, that means the children will learn. And when we conduct that exam, at least we can do an assessment to see schools that are doing well, schools that are not doing well, so that we can also look further to see those schools that are doing well, what are they doing in their school that make their children to perform very well. Those schools that are not doing well, what are they not doing that is causing the children not to do well? And if you are now organizing a training workshop or a workshop or anything, you know the specific problem you have, and you now bring people who will help you address that problem. Unlike a situation where you say government is organizing training and government will decide on area to train. How are you sure that those areas, that thing you want to address is the real problem? It is when you get into the field and you interact with those in the field. That is when you know where your problems are. And that will help you to know the kind of solution you are going to apply. So, the uniform exam wasn't just for us to know who passed and who failed. It helped us generate data and information about school and help us identify areas of attention, areas that we need solution. And such areas help us in dealing with our problem. And when you identify a problem and solve it, things will move. And in doing that, we discovered that some teachers lack the basic pedagogical skills required in the 21st century. Teaching is no longer a matter of coming to the class for those of you in the tertiary institution and you start reading notes to students. It's a sheer waste of students' time to go to you stay in your house and prepare notes, and you go to the class and you start dictating notes to people who know how to read. Why not give it to them to copy? Or just snap it with your phone and distribute to their own phone so that they will read? Why waste students' time dictating notes to them? Some teachers even dictate without even explaining what they are. Students will ask questions and they will start them.
Move on. Public confidence has been eroding in public schools due to underfunding by the federal government and strikes by workers. What is your view about this underfunding and their strikes?
Well, the truth is, what happened to the one that was released? Education cannot get enough But I'm one of those who believe that the little that we have, let us judiciously use it. This is what I have done with the 5 naira. Yes, education has not gotten enough funding because education is capital intensive. Education is costly. And government alone cannot provide all the funds required for education, which means there is a need for collaboration between the different stakeholders. Government is a major stakeholder. There are other stakeholders in the education industry. I think what I would say, the problem of education is not just funding. The problem is that we are living in a society where management of fund is a problem. And some people think more of what will come out of a system for him or her much more than how the system can be improved. I do not have concrete evidence, but I have heard situations where funds have been mismanaged, not actually used for the purpose for which it was designed. Yeah. When you talk about strike, lecturers go on strike when they perceive that they are not paid enough. But at the same time, you look at some, you begin to ask, even the one they are paid, can they justify receiving it? In the university system, some work so hard, and some just move around. What they want to know is that they are called lecturers. You see, I'm one of those who believe that every promotion in any system must be performance-based. Every professor should not earn the same thing. Every lecturer should not. Everybody should earn in relation to your input to the system. And that is the way everybody will work to make the system work. And before we start talking about improved funding, we should first of all address accountability in the system. There's a lot of impunity. Some are sacred cows that cannot even be talked to. So, when we address accountability in our educational system, that is where we will know whether the fund we have now is enough or not enough.
Nicely said, sir. As we know, TED Fund is an educator that funds tertiary education, and it's well known that it funds the public sector, and individuals are calling to extend this funding to the private sector as well. So what is your view or response to this?
Well, it will be good if that fund can fund both private, public, and education. But the problem is usually in the area of insufficient fund. You see, governments tries more to cater for those who for one reason or the other cannot bear the cost of education all alone. And majority of the citizens will not have access to education if government does not intervene. Which means, which is the reason why government, why we have public education. And what we refer to as public education is those education systems funded by governments. Now check out the fees in different tertiary institutions. The costliest will be the private school, because the major focus is not only to provide education for the citizens, but also to make profits. And those who have parents or guardians who can afford that, they prefer to go to such private schools because they have more comfort, they have almost everything. But if governments dissipate insufficient funds to all these, you are given to somebody who already has. So many people will lose out. So what we are saying is that as government fund continues to improve, it will be good if they extend hands to some private institutions, because they are also training citizens. But if government decide to share out the mega this thing, the public school will lose out completely. And government is doing its best to ensure that everybody has access to education. And you know, education is the only thing that equalizes every citizen.
All right then, thank you. So I also want to ask, how do you intend to collaborate with the private sector to ensure that many more students get admission yearly?
Well, we encourage the establishment of private institutions at primary, secondary, and tertiary level. In fact, every year we approve many new schools because we want every citizen to have opportunity of going to school. Whether we like it or not, the private schools are helping tremendously. There are locations where you can't find government schools and you have private schools, and those private schools are providing access to those children. What such institutions need from us is our consent for them to establish the institution in our state, and we encourage them and support them in ways that we can, because we know that the more tertiary institutions we have, the more admission opportunities young ones will have. And they are assisting government, so government encourage them. Those who can, in fact, Enugu State, we want Enugu State to become an education tourist center where everybody in Nigeria will want to come and get the best of education, because education, we believe, is central to whatever we are doing.
All right. Okay, lastly, I'd love to know, Spiritan University is becoming a widely known university in this part of the world. I would want to know your advice to the proprietors, their staff and students for the university.
There is one thing I love about mission-controlled schools. They emphasize learning and character development. Any institution that neglects any of these two is not working for the society. Why many people prefer to send their children to mission school is that they want their children to grow up a disciplined person and become responsible promoting those values that ensure the safety of the society. So, as a missionary school, our advice is that while they pursue character, let them pursue learning. While they pursue learning, let them also pursue character. Because I think in those days, this concept must have originated from the missionaries, where for you to graduate in the university, having found you worthy in character and learning, we are awarding this degree. We want institutions that will produce honorable men who can stand and say, in my honor, I say this. Today in Nigeria, you can no longer take anybody serious when he says, in my honor. So, and we believe that the church can still help to develop society if they continue in that tradition. Unfortunately, some of them are derailing. And I believe that any this thing associated with the Spiritan congregation will never derail. And I pray it will never derail. You're welcome.
Thank you very much. And back to our viewers, you surely have found this program very interesting and enlightening, and that was a promise fulfilled. We wish our Honorable Commissioner for Education success in his efforts to strengthen the education sector in Enugu State. We have come to the end of the program, and I remain your host, Nwachukwu. Thank you for watching. Thank you for joining us.